Hi, welcome to Promo Insiders, an ASI media podcast that covers the issues that matter most to the promotional products industry. I'm Chris Ruvo for ASI, and today we'll be tackling topics that are on the minds of everyone in promo: economic outlook and how to steer your business to success within a dynamic marketplace. We couldn't have a better guest to offer insights on such matters. World-renowned economist Todd Buchholz is a former White House Director of Economic Policy, a managing director of the $15 billion Tiger hedge fund, and a Harvard economics professor whose work and teaching is at the cutting-edge intersection of economics, fiscal politics, finance, and business. If that wasn't enough to impress you, he's also authored everything from books on economics to musicals and co-produced the Broadway hit Jersey Boys. Todd will be one of the featured speakers at the ASI Power Summit, being held October 22nd through October 24th in Pasadena. There, he'll delve even deeper into the economy and business. You can learn more at asicentral.com. Todd, thank you for joining me today.
Good to be with you.
All right, so let's jump right into this first question here. What will the economy look like for the rest of 2023 and into 2024? We've heard what sometimes seems like conflicting reports and analysis. What's your take? Where will things be?
Well, the economy is not roaring. How is that? The fact is, we were roaring with inflation a year ago because government policy was frankly miserable. The government, the Federal Reserve Board, the White House, the Congress spent too much money and allowed inflation to start skyrocketing. And now we see, as a result of that, all sorts of unions and other workers demanding higher wages, which is understandable. You can't blame someone for saying, hey, my cost of living has gone up. I need to be paid more. Entirely understandable. But as a result of that, you've got the big three automakers in Detroit worried about strikes. Just this morning, flight attendants for American Airlines authorizing strikes. We've had nurses go on strikes. It's unlike anything we've seen since the 1970s. And if anyone on this program remembers the 1970s, it wasn't a terrific time for the economy. So we're in for a bit of a rough patch for the next 6 to 9 months. Now, I say that as someone who is typically on the optimistic side of things, and it pains me a bit not to be able to be all smiley and say things are looking great, things are going up, but it is time to pay the price for the inflation that we suffered and that the Federal Reserve Board is now trying to crack down on.
Do you see inflation starting to curtail over the next six to 12 months? We've seen obviously some reduction in recent months, at least in the rate of growth. Do you see that continuing, or do you see them not really being able to get inflation under control?
Well, inflation has come down pretty sharply. It shouldn't have been permitted to get as high as it was, which has been very painful for middle income and lower income families who experience sticker shock simply going to the grocery store. Forget about thinking about buying a home or buying a new car. Just wanting to buy hamburgers and hot dogs for a Labor Day cookout is surprising to people. So that's been painful. Inflation has improved a lot. The problem is there are always lags. I mentioned the strikes and the kind of labor unrest that we haven't seen since the 1970s. Well, it's not because inflation is still skyrocketing. It's because we feel the pain of what we've suffered over the course of the last year. So yes, inflation is getting better. A year and a half from now, it will not be a headline issue. But the problem is that the U.S. economy is kind of developing some skid marks, slowing down pretty fast in the battle to fight and defeat inflation, which will be defeated, but it's not done for free. There's cost involved. And unfortunately, the average American family is now paying that cost.
All right, interesting take. So it sounds like, if I heard you right, next 6 to 9 months going to be a bumpy stretch for the economies, and that's maybe putting it a bit lightly. So kind of in that marketplace, how do you navigate that as a business owner? We're the brand and merchandise industry. We're selling T-shirts, mugs, things of that nature, and we're relying on marketing budgets. So how can people in that industry navigate this more difficult economy where maybe there are some purse strings being tightened in the marketing departments?
Well, I think it's important to understand that consumers are currently changing their behavior in a really interesting way.
Okay.
Before COVID struck, lots of people were spending money going out to restaurants, going out to clubs, going out to baseball games, Broadway shows, vacations, and then it all shut down. We locked ourselves, hermetically sealed ourselves into our homes, refused to go out, refused to open the door when the mailman came for fear somehow there'd be germs on an envelope.
Right.
And we shuttered ourselves. And so instead, people spent money on goods, on things, and they ordered stuff to their homes. I remember I quit going to my local gym, my fitness center, and instead I ordered some barbells and dumbbells from Dick's Sporting Goods and from Amazon. Now, there was a supply chain problem. It took 6 weeks for me to get those dumbbells
Oh,
delivered.
you were lucky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was out of shape for 6 weeks, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
But anyway, we started buying goods. So we all ended up having these boxes delivered to our homes. Now that COVID has largely been defeated, and yes, we know there are new strains, and maybe it's going to be with us forever, but basically life has come back somewhat to normal. What's going on? We're seeing in the economy, people are buying fewer things, fewer objects are being delivered. Stores, retail stores are reporting that inventories are beginning to pile up, but people are still spending money, but they're going out again.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're going out, they're traveling, the airplanes are full, vacation spots are full, ball games, theaters. Try to get ticket to what's her name's concert tour, Taylor Swift's
Taylor
concert
Swift, oh,
tour,
tough
right?
one to do. Yeah.
Yeah, tough one to do. So
Yeah.
people are going out. So when you ask yourself about, branded merchandise and so on, you got to think, all right, to what extent can I, as a manufacturer or distributor, begin to pivot back so I'm focusing more on my clients who are in the experiential business
Mm.
and less so in the business of stuff delivered to the home. And that's been just a total 180 that's needed to be done. So, that's where, I think the branded merchandise category needs to be thinking. How do we find and deliver our merchandise? How do we find our customers who are poised to benefit from people going out and not so dependent on people staying in their homes? So just to be blunt, the merchandise that may have accompanied, I don't know, Peloton bikes sold to be kept in the home,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't seem so attractive. It might have seemed very attractive 12 months ago.
Great point. It just go where there's always in every economy, even in down ones, right? It seems like there's always going to be some players having some degree of success or finding a way to capitalize on what's happening in the marketplace. Go there, go there. Basically, look to align with those.
Exactly. And the other thing to say is, let's say we have a really bad scenario in the economy and a steep recession. And I'm not forecasting that. I don't think it's going to, I think the economy is going to slow down. I don't think we're going to be, it's going to show up in the record books of steepest recessions. It's not going to be like 2008 and 9. But let's say things do slow down appreciably. The acronym that I would say you should keep in mind if you are successful, if you're able to stay solvent and you're doing business and you've got access to resources, I would say the acronym is BAP, B-A-P. When the economy slows down, interest rates will come down sharply. That's the time to borrow. That's the time to invest. Not when interest rates are sky high and everything is going really fast. When things slow down, if you still have the ability to borrow, that's when you can really make inroads. That's when you can negotiate the best deals. That's when you should acquire, BAP, B-A-P, borrow, acquire. You'll probably have some competitors who are going to be shaken out, some weaker players in the market. If you've conserved cash, if you've run your business in a prudent way, in a recession, that's the time you actually can acquire other businesses that are more desperate. And third, P, poach. That is the time to find talent. That is the time to say, hey, this company, whether there are layoffs, whether they're not able to give raises, whether they're discontent because their company is not able to grow, that's the time to find the talent. So if we have a significant slowdown in the economy that borders on a recession or becomes a deep recession, remember BAP, borrow, acquire, and poach. And that way, when the economy recovers again, you'll be in the strongest possible position.
All right, really, really good and insightful advice there. And this next question is kind of a bit of a follow-up on that. Is you've answered it to an extent, but are there any broader trends, such as you pointed out, service economy kind of cranking again, good place to look. Are there any other broader economic trends that executives in the brand and merchandise industry should just kind of have on their radar as they kind of broadly plan for where to take their business next?
Well, let's face it. Those in the audience who remember the internet boom of 1998, 1999, and so on will remember that there were companies that became more valuable on the stock market simply by appending the letters .com
Sure.
or the symbols .com at the end of their name. Pets.com suddenly. And it didn't matter whether you were in an industry that had anything to do with internet commerce. Same thing happened a couple of years ago with crypto and blockchain. I think there's a company called Long Island Iced Tea that may have changed its name to like Long Island Iced Tea Blockchain. And suddenly
Yeah.
they're
Yes. Yeah.
well, let's face it, AI is the catchword of the day. And so the question, the branded merchandise is there any way to ride that wave, to take advantage of the idea that maybe the merchandise that you're designing for your clients has a kind of, learning aspect to it? A greater, look, we all know customization and personalization is tremendously important. With artificial intelligence, it is possible to develop products that are even more tailored and more exciting. Look, you mentioned that I'm involved in addition to economics and finance, I'm involved in producing Broadway shows, and I just produced a show in London called Glory Ride, and we had to develop posters. There's a poster behind me for Glory Ride. Well, there are now programs, AI programs. I'm sure almost all your members know this, where you can develop new posters, new book covers, and the like, and you can do it instantaneously, and you can do it with a super degree of customization. So, I'm not saying throw the word AI at the end of your name, because that'll just be a fad that will go away.
Right. Sure.
But the question is, can you harness those tools in ways so that the branded merchandise is even more interesting than it otherwise would have been?
Wow. Interesting stuff. Well, a lot of food for thought there, and I think a lot of actionable advice that people in our industry can move on. And certainly coming from someone with your perspective, I think it's advice well taken and sound, and that we should get going on. Todd, just any final takeaways or thoughts for our audience here?
Well, I think the final takeaway is we need to be modest. Whenever you hear a government official or a private sector official, as myself, predicting the future, we need to be modest about that. In fact, I have in front of me some branded merchandise that I actually commissioned some years ago. I had a book called Market Shock come out. 9 economic and social upheavals that will shake the financial future. And we created sunglasses to promote the show. And the slogan on the sunglasses were, "The future's so bright, you gotta wear shades," which was cool. And the book came out around 2000, and the future was going to be so bright. And then we had the tech crash.
Right.
And then we had 9/11. And then we had the real estate crash. On the other hand, since 2000, a lot of good stuff has come about as well. So the future of the economy, no one's got a crystal ball. I'm looking forward to meeting with your members and taking out my crystal ball. Surely there'll be some clouds and cracks in it, but we'll have some good advice, some actionable items along the way. And it was good to be with you today, Chris.
All right, Todd Buchholz, thanks so much for joining me today on Promo Insiders, and we're very much looking forward to hearing you speak at the ASI Power Summit in October. Thanks again so much.
Thank you.